Hi everyone, Susan Storm here, and today I want to explore with you the INFP FISI loop. If you've ever felt like you were stuck in this stagnant place where you weren't really getting anywhere, where maybe you felt a little bit stuck in a rut, struggling to think outside the box, try new things, maybe you felt like you were replaying negative past experiences and that was making you feel even more stuck or less inspired, less able to believe in yourself, then you might be an INFP in an FISI loop. So we're going to go ahead and dive right into that. Let's get started. So first of all, what is FI? What is SI? If you're new to type, you may not understand these codes that we use when we're talking about type. These codes are short for introverted feeling and introverted sensing, both of which are cognitive functions that the INFP uses. Cognitive functions are essentially mental tools that help us process the world and make decisions. Each of the 16 Myers-Briggs personality types has a unique set or hierarchy of cognitive functions. For INFPs, their top function is called introverted feeling. This is the one that they tend to live and breathe without really having to put a lot of effort into it. Introverted feeling is all about understanding the world through your own personal value system. It's all about being authentic and true to yourself, even if that means you're going against the grain of society or you're rocking the boat. Often INFPs question things that are culturally accepted as right or wrong. They question it and try to determine from their own point of view why that could be right or wrong and whether they truly believe in it or subscribe to it. They're deeply aware of what their gut is telling them in any given situation. What's my heart telling me about this situation? Does this feel right or wrong? They're very aligned with their conscience, with their moral compass, with this kind of gut sense of knowing when it comes to something being ethical or non-ethical. This also shows up in deciding what's meaningful or what matters to them. INFPs tend to know right away what's important to them, or they're seekers searching for that one really important, meaningful thing that matters to them. Next, introverted sensing. This is the third function in their stack. So before introverted sensing comes another function called extroverted intuition. And this function is where INFPs get that creative side, that part that thinks outside the box, that asks what if, that is wanting to stretch the boundaries of what's possible. Extroverted intuition sees connections everywhere in the world around them. It's able to ask lots of hypothetical questions that other people might not ever think of, which allows them to think outside the box and find unconventional solutions and ideas. Extroverted intuition is really good at multiplying possibilities or generating alternatives, whereas one person might stay at a fork in the road and say, it's only one of these two decisions I can make. Extroverted intuition can multiply that by a dozen and be like, well, actually, there's all these other alternatives that maybe you haven't thought of. So INFPs who are in touch with extroverted intuition tend to be very open-minded. They tend to be very creative and innovative, and they tend to come up with ingenious solutions and ideas and possibilities that the normal everyday person may never consider in their lifetime. So next we get to SI, introverted sensing, and that function is all about learning from past experiences and replicating those experiences in the current or future day. So it tends to compare and contrast past to present in order to find the lesson in something or to find the comfort or the stability in something. Introverted sensing is very stability conscious. It's very aware of the details and likes to have a sense of consistency. So INFPs generally, if they're in touch with extroverted intuition, are good at improvising. They're good at being a little flexible and spontaneous and trying new things. INFPs who also have a good relationship with introverted sensing also know when it's important to be grounded, and they have some routines that give their life a sense of stability and continuity as well. However, it's easy for INFPs to get stuck in this loop, this FISI loop. Well, why is that? INFPs are introverted types. So one reason that they get stuck in a loop is both these functions, introverted feeling and introverted sensing, are introverted functions. So it naturally feels comfortable to stay in this introverted place. Another reason that they can get stuck in a loop is maybe a bad experience. Maybe they were using extroverted intuition, they were coming up with these great possibilities, and other people just shot them down or ridiculed them, and so they feel a little gun shy of using those extroverted functions. So some INFPs get stuck in this loop because of a bad external experience. And whenever an introvert has a bad external experience, they tend to want to get stuck in those introverted functions that they have rather than continuing to use their extroverted functions, which they're going to use more in the outside world when they're interacting with other people. So, what are some signs that an INFP is in a loop? Let's look at some of those. Number one, they tend to get very stuck in a rut. They get stuck in their comfort zone and they're scared of trying new things. During the times like this, they're very critical or closed off to any kind of critique, any kind of advice or suggestions that might cause them to feel like they need to go out and use their extroverted function. So if someone's like, hey, why don't you come try this new restaurant with me? Or why don't we go brainstorm together? Or you're getting too isolated. Any suggestions like that might feel like attacks when they're in a loop. And they tend to just want to stay in this routine that isn't really serving them. Two, they tend to retreat from the outside world. This often lines up with the first point I gave, but they tend to shy away from the outside world. In fact, many times they see the outside world as very threatening or corrupt. They tend to, when they're in this loop, see only the negatives in the world around them and have a very cynical view of the world and the people in it. Often during these times, they develop tunnel vision. Extroverted intuition helps them to see all these other perspectives and alternatives, but if they're not using it, if they're not employing it, then they tend to have tunnel vision. They tend to just stick with what they know, how an unhealthy ISFJ or ISTJ would. Instead of thinking, well, there's another way of seeing this, or let me brainstorm other alternatives or look for other connections so that I can understand this situation more fully, they tend to just rely on what they know through their past experience and refuse to look beyond that. During these times, they tend to get hooked on creature comforts and very specific rituals. They may have a certain childhood movie that they love and they just rewatch it over and over and over again, or they have a very specific breakfast routine and they just do that over and over and over again, and they get really kind of obsessively stuck in these comfortable, familiar rituals. Another sign of an INFP in a loop is that they lose their openness. INFPs often feel like by being authentic with other people, they are inviting other people to be authentic with them, and they can have a very engaging, warm conversation with someone else where they, through their own self-revelation, allow other people to be real with them. And INFPs in a loop tend to be very closed off and suspicious of other people. They're less open, they're less revealing of themselves, they're more isolated, more private, more suspicious of others. Another sign of an INFP in a loop is that they get stuck replaying negative past experiences over and over and over again. Many INFPs in a loop that I've spoken to just really struggle with trying to sleep at night, and then, that inner movie theater comes up where it's like, let's show you your most embarrassing moments, or let me show you all your worst mistakes. And then they get stuck really replaying their worst mistakes or their worst moments or their worst life experiences over and over and over again. And this gives them the feeling that, of course, I don't want to go out there in the world and do anything because this is going to happen. This is what happens when I go out in the world. I screwed up at my last job. So if I try again, the same thing's just going to keep happening. And so they start to believe that these negative memories are just indicators that nothing good can happen in the future. And as you can imagine, this is super stressful and exhausting and depressing for them. Some people say, oh, I need a loop. I need a loop to recharge. So if you're an introvert and you need some time alone to recharge, it's very different from being in a loop. A loop doesn't feel good. A loop feels really depressing. It feels like your options are narrowing down by the moment, like the walls are closing in on you. It's not a refreshing recharge break from the noise of everyday life. We all need that. Even extroverts need that sometimes. A loop is where you really get stuck in these self-defeating patterns, and the way you feel in a loop is not like you're being recharged. It feels comforting because you're revisiting past things that give you comfort. But many times you start feeling like you're not getting anywhere, like the walls are closing in on you. You feel overwhelmed by your past failures, mistakes, or let down, and you can't stop ruminating about how bad the world is out there, ruminating about how much you've failed in the past or how other people have failed you, ruminating about all the risks and things that could go wrong if you were to do something in the outside world. So there's a lot of ruminating and anxiety and just feeling stuck when you're in a loop. So if you're feeling recharged because you're getting some alone time, don't think to yourself, oh, I'm really enjoying this loop. A loop is a very different beast. So maybe you're in a loop. Maybe you're listening to this and you're relating to this and you're thinking, what do I do now that I know I'm in a loop? What can I do to get out of it? So that's what we're going to talk about next. In order to get out of a loop, you really need to practice letting extroverted intuition, the end part of your INFP personality, back into your life. It's very, very important. This function, extroverted intuition, some people call it the co-pilot. I'm a big fan of John Beebe's work, and he calls the auxiliary function the mother father. That meaning that extroverted intuition for an INFP helps to take care of you in the same way a mother father type would when it comes to your mental processes. It helps to shield you from non productive criticism. So, one of the ways this can show up is when you're replaying all your past mistakes, extroverted intuition can come in and say, hey, you're being too hard on yourself. Look at all these other alternatives. Look at all these other possibilities that you could explore. Look at all your potential that you're squandering by ruminating on the past. As the mother father role in your personality, it's also the way you nurture others. When you're in a loop as an INFP, you're not really helping others too much. You're staying stuck in this isolated, reclusive, ruminating place. But when you tap into extroverted intuition, it not only helps you take care of yourself, but it helps you to take care of other people. Many INFPs help other people by helping them to think outside the box, by helping them to see new ways of looking at life and understanding it, by helping them to see other possibilities and options, by helping others to see the big picture and to find inspiration in that. So when you open your mind to extrovert intuition, you open up some of the best parts of yourself. The insights you have are more meaningful. You feel more optimistic and hopeful about the future. You feel more confident in yourself and more willing to just try things, even if they differ from your past experience. So, here's just a few ways that you can tap into extroverted intuition. One is you can start to explore new environments. You can visit a new place, change up your daily routine, just get some new experience, some new scenery. Whenever you do something new or novel, extroverted intuition lights up. It's like, ooh, there's this new data that I'm taking in. This inspires me with new ideas, with new possibilities. Like, I've never been in this park before. I've never seen this river before. This makes me feel like I'm suddenly being flooded with new ideas. Exploring new environments, doing new things, even if it feels a little scary at first, can help to waken up that extroverted intuitive part of yourself. Another thing that can help is just having a brainstorming session. If you don't have someone to do this with, you can even just do this with yourself. You can write them down in a notepad. You can voice record yourself having a brainstorming session and listen back to it. Or if you have a friend or loved one who can do that with you, just throw ideas at the wall. Don't worry whether they're really the world's best idea or really revolutionary. Just get that extrovert intuitive part of yourself back into practice. The more you do that kind of thing, the stronger it will be. Another option is to get excited about some kind of artistic project. When you're doing something artsy, then that really tends to tap into your extroverted intuition. You start painting, and extrovert intuition starts throwing ideas out like, what if I did this? What if I experimented with this new color? What if I experimented with this new concept and tried to express this through painting? Whatever it is, whether it's writing, painting, dancing, performing, doing something creative is a great way to wake up that extroverted intuitive part of yourself. So these are just a few ways that you can get out of a loop. It can feel a bit scary at first, so don't be afraid to take baby steps. You don't have to jump into an improv class right away or go on a week-long road trip. Like, you can do some really simple things to begin. Say, I'm going to call up a friend and talk about life for a little while, or I'm going to write one page of a book that I've been thinking about, or I'm going to watch a movie that I've never watched before. It can be really simple stuff. But the idea is to open yourself up to external new experiences that are going to awaken that extroverted intuitive part of yourself. Or to start brainstorming, start thinking outside the box, start mixing up your daily routine instead of just relying on what you know. When you see those negative memories coming back to you and you're tempted to just replay the past, think to yourself, what other situations or positive situations have I had that I can combat this with? Or what if I tried this experience again, but I did it a different way? Remind yourself that every single person has a plethora of really negative, embarrassing, awful experiences in their storehouse of memories. But if you get stuck on those, you're never going to stretch beyond them. So really try to take baby steps to stretch beyond those negative memories. Allow yourself to be scared, but allow yourself to realize that you can do it, or that failure isn't the enemy, that you learned something from that failure and you're going to get even better the next time. If you would like to find out more about INFPs in the loop, I do have an article about it. I will link to that in the description. I've also written a book for INFPs called The INFP Understanding the Dreamer. And if you'd like to read that, I will put a link in the description as well. There's lots of information there about INFPs through life, their childhood struggles, their parenting, their cognitive functions, the shadow functions, all of that. So I will leave a link in the description if you're interested. You can also find many, many more articles for free on my website at psychologyjunkie.com. If you have any questions, be sure to leave those in the comments. I would love to hear from you. Like and subscribe for more videos like this, and I will see you in my next video. Bye, everyone.